Are you ready to move your career forward? Make your comeback with Purdue Global and get college credit for your work, school, life, or military experiences. With these credits, you may have already completed up to 75% of your undergraduate degree. You've worked hard to get where you are. It's time to get the recognition you deserve and earn a degree you'll be proud of, one that employers will trust and respect. When you take the next step in your life and career, make it count with Purdue Global, Purdue's online university for working adults. Start your comeback at purdueglobal.edu.
There's a lot to say when buying a new home or car, but only one thing to say that can help you protect them. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. And just like that, a State Farm agent will be there to help you choose the coverage you need. No matter where you are in life, when you need coverage options, your State Farm agent is there to help, on the phone or in person. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
This is Radhi Devlukia from A Really Good Cry. When you take a shower, where does your shower take you? If you're like me, your shower is your escape from everything. The Kohler Anthem Plus Smart Showering System lets you create a personalized refuge by fine-tuning water, steam, light, and sound, all from a single control. You can customize music and lighting, even pre-programmed steam therapies. With Anthem Plus, you're not just imagining your sanctuary, you are creating it. And you can save up to 9 of your customized favorites. Personalize your escape with Anthem Plus Smart Showering, only from Kohler.
This is what you do when you have high standards and fancy all the fancy things, like a Dior saddlebag or that diamond tennis bracelet. You go to eBay. There you'll find new loves that will never disappoint, expertly authenticated. Whether it's that vintage pearl necklace or brand new ruby earrings, a Prada crossbody bag, or classic watches like that Rolex Oyster or that Cartier tank. On eBay, there are no limits to your high standards. Yeah, eBay, the place for new, pre-loved vintage and rare fashion. eBay, things people love.
Have you ever brought your magic to Walt Disney World like, hey, we came to play? Did you tip your tiara to a Creole princess or get goofy officially? Step up like a boss and save the day? Or see what life's like under the tree of life? Did you? If you could. Would you? When we come through, it's true magic. 'Cause we came to play. Bring the magic at Walt Disney World Resort.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Zoe, and you're listening to Climbing in Heels for your weekly dose of glamour, inspiration, and fun. Today, we have on the show a very dear friend of mine, the incredible makeup artist and founder of Ciele Cosmetics, Nikki DeRoest. From watching her mom work in her at-home salon to creating beauty looks for some of Hollywood's most beautiful faces, Nikki has truly forged her own path. As an artist, Nikki is the master of enhancing natural beauty, so her evolution into creating Ciele Cosmetics, a color cosmetics brand with broad spectrum SPF, my favorite, and clean and non-pore clogging ingredients was honestly a no-brainer for her. Nikki is so beyond talented and very business savvy and beyond beautiful, I might add. And I cannot wait for you to hear her story. So let's jump right in. You are going to love her. So first of all, I'm so excited to have you on. Climbing in Heels, I've had so many people on the pod. And, for me, it's about not just celebrating my incredibly badass, successful friends, but it's really talking about the journey of how we all get to where we are. Because it's not ever the same. It's not ever easy. I love you, but B, I've known you, before you were famous.
I knew you from when Caius was so little. When
he was. Caius was probably like in a high chair. Right?
He was.
Yeah. So that's crazy.
I know.
And I remember you sitting in my old house with me in my bathroom, and I remember very clearly. You came in one day because you were always so positive, and you came in like this light all the time, this gorgeous being, but always just very chill, very calm, very never a frenetic energy, which is, I think, what made me gravitate towards working with you. Obviously, you made me feel beautiful and all of that. But like for me, hair, makeup, and all of that, that's the most intimate person in your life outside of your family, because they're in your face, they're in your space, they're literally in your bathroom, right? Like, so whoever I have around me in that, you know, in that position is always very sacred, and the energy is always really important. And your energy, as much as your talent, for me was like, this is my person. But we obviously became very close, and I think very trusting of each other. So give me like how Nikki became Nikki. Like what kind of human were you as a little person?
Well, I think, you know, dating back, my mom was a hairdresser. So I grew up in the late 80s in a basement. Okay, I'm making myself sound younger. Early 80s, and in the basement of my mom doing hair. So I've always been around beauty and always loved it. And it was
wow. So in your house.
Yeah, we had a salon in our house.
Wow. Where were you?
In Utah.
In Utah, which I think is key.
Yeah. And so looking at it now, it's funny what we know now. Like maybe those chemicals from the perm weren't for me, but I'm here to tell the tale. So
maybe not. We'll never know.
We'll never know. So I've always been around beauty. I've always loved it. I don't think it was ever a question for me, like what I was going to do with my life. And I came from a hairdressing background. So I was doing hair and makeup at the same time. I was like a counter girl at Nordstrom, you know, in the early 2000s. And
in Utah.
Okay. And I remember looking through magazines, looking at covers of magazines and being like, I can do that. I want to do that. And then thinking like, well, what do I have to do that? I have to live in LA or New York. So, I mean, it's a long story, but essentially a lot of stalking and a lot of like, you know, making myself available to people that could be mentors for me. So early on, it was a man named Howard McLaren that now owns the hair care company R&Co.
Yep.
He used
one
to
of
be
my absolute favorites.
I know, it's a great brand. And
so
he used to be at Bumble and Bumble. So I went to a Bumble and Bumble class, got his mailing address, like snail mail, wrote him a letter in the mail and said that I was going to be in LA, which was a total lie. And so once he was like, yeah,
I'm totally going to be there. I'm so going to be in LA. Yeah. Okay.
So once I got the date, I was like, oh, I'm going to be in town that day. I'd love to come and see you. So booked the ticket, went to LA. He agreed.
That's so scary.
Yeah.
Were you scared? You probably didn't have a place to stay. Did you know anyone here?
No, I remember renting a car, and it was the first time I ever drove a car on an LA freeway, and it was so scary. But
you were like Alicia Silverstone in Clueless?
Yes. But
and Nikki, does it make you feel better that I'm still like that on a freeway?
Yes, it does actually.
Okay. Just checking.
But ignorance is bliss, right? Like I had a goal and I was just like eyes on the prize. So he agreed to mentor me, and he was like, when can you be here? That was like in October. And I was like, oh, I can be there by January.
Right.
So I closed up my whole life in Utah. I was still working hairdresser, moved to LA, got an apartment in Koreatown. Oh this was before Ubers. So
you walked everywhere.
No, I literally didn't leave my apartment because also I had no money. So
I was going to ask you, how did you even pay for your life?
Well, I bought tuna from Trader Joe's and kale and air popcorn, and
still eating healthy, by the way.
And I had no internet. I just used the internet from the building, and I just decided to come and try to say yes to everything. So like. Early on, it was trying to meet like directors, producers, whatever, which there's a lot of funny stories wrapped up in that, because little did I know these directors thought we were like going on dates, and I thought it was a business meeting.
Note to listeners, when you're trying to hustle for jobs, be very clear. It's not a date. It's 100%. I want to do makeup or hair on set for you.
100%. Okay. This was actually funny because one of the guys invited me to Soho House, which I had no idea what that was. And my friend was like, oh, you're going to Soho House? And I was like, yeah, I guess. And I got off the elevator, and this was like in 2011. And I went into the restaurant, and George Clooney and Cindy Crawford were there. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then Janice Dickinson was walking around with a martini, and Soleil Moonfry was there.
No
And
way.
yeah, and I've told her this story. I'm like, I was so starstruck because Punky Brewster is like what I grew up on.
Of course.
So anyways, long story short, I just hustled. I was doing whatever job someone would say yes to. Back then I was doing a lot of e-commerce for Playboy, not as a model, but
glad you clarified that. Not that I would have judged, but
like e-commerce, Capri Sun commercials, like anything I could get. And I actually remember, I don't even know how I got to you, but I remember when I had the opportunity to do your makeup, I was freaking out because I had also watched your show, and I was like, I can't believe I'm going to do Rachel Zoe's makeup. Like, this is insane. But what I want to share with everyone, because I was reflecting on this earlier today, is like, I'll never forget it. You came outside, you had 8-inch heels on, and you insisted to help me carry my kit in. And it was like your cobblestone driveway. And I had never had anyone ever come outside and want to help me. And I was like, wow, this is a really special person. I was like, she is so kind. And you were always like that to me. And I remember even telling you my dreams. Like, I remember being like, oh, I want to meet Charlotte Tilbury, or want to be like her. You're like, well, I know her. Like, oh, like, let me set you up with her, blah, blah, blah. And so I think there, especially in our industry, there are connectors that kind of, help you on your journey. And you were definitely one of those people for me. And so it was just like, you feel like you're like climbing this mountain. Yes. And just being open and saying yes and trying and failing. And, it does all just happen. You just have to keep like that forward motion of like belief in yourself. And then, from there, like it kind of.
And UGG. Remember our UGG moment?
Yeah. 100%.
I remember that. That was the most fun shoot ever, by the way.
Yeah, it was really fun. And that opened up a lot of too. Yeah. Yeah.
But here's the thing. I mean, the thing that I don't want to downplay is the fear that I think so many of the women I've had on that have come from, small towns in the middle of the country, or like had a similar kind of moment where they could easily stay where they were, have a career, right? Like, you could have stayed working in a hair salon and doing your thing in Utah. And like, I think we all know, most of us would know, Jen Atkins' story of coming out of Utah, right? My friend Maria Jory, coming out of Spokane, Washington, and left there at 16. And she was like, no, I don't want to stay here. Like, and I think that, for me, having grown up in the sort of tri-state, or like, in the main centers of where these things happen, I really like to give so much credit to having that courage of, it's not like you had wads of cash in your pocket, like, hey, I'm going to go to LA. Like, Jamie, who was on here, like, played game shows to like get a car or like fund her first store, and I think it's so important to recognize what that takes. And now you going from, big celebrity makeup artist to like starting your own brand. And I want to talk about that, because that in itself is scary and brutal and terrifying. And, and entrepreneurial life, as anyone would say, the highs are the highest and the lows are the lowest. And the fear really never stops. Right. So that also takes a lot, because you could have easily just said, okay, I've made it, right? Like I'm working beyond my dreams of the kind of makeup artist or hairstylist that I want to be, which now you choose only makeup, right? Makeup first. This episode is brought to you by eBay. Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay, things people love. If you know me, you know I have an absolute obsession with all things vintage. Whether it's the perfect coat or timeless denim, I'm always looking for vintage treasures. Nothing makes me happier than fashion from the 60s and 70s. It was the ultimate era of glamour with beautiful prints, sequins, fringe, platforms, literally all my favorite things. It might not shock you, but I'm an expert online shopper, and eBay is the perfect place for all my vintage wants and needs. Personally, I like to search the designer name that I'm looking for and then browse through the filters to narrow down my search. I usually know exactly what I'm shopping for because I'm a very type A Virgo. But I also love exploring the site for pieces that jump out at me. Vintage caftans are a wardrobe staple in my closet, so I find myself shopping for those over and over again. Long, short, belted, billow sleeve, or printed, I love them all. I get asked constantly, what is the best way to develop your personal style? My answer is always to take the time out to find what you genuinely like and you naturally gravitate to. Style is truly a way to say who you are without having to speak, and mixing vintage pieces in with more contemporary designs is a great way to look and feel your best without looking like everyone else. Thanks to eBay, you can easily source authentic vintage at a range of price points from the comfort of your home, or in my case, from bed. I do my best eBay shopping there. We've all got a thing, and it's on eBay. Maybe it's scoring all the vintage finds, building an entire wall of sneakers, or hunting down a deal on that designer bag. So go find the thing, like the perfect one-of-a-kind caftan. Whatever you love, find it on eBay. eBay, things people love.
I mean, I'll always twirl your hair for sure, but yeah.
But and fun fact, I also like begged her to do my kids' hair when they were little because no one cuts a guy's hair better than Nikki. She won't talk about that, but that's also her like fun fact, hidden talent. Yep. But I want to talk about that because you have been climbing this mountain for a long time, right? And now many would argue like you're doing some of the biggest stars in the world, some of the most talented actors out there. Why do you want to have a product line? Why did you start Ciele? Because it's terrifying and it takes a lot.
Well, I think part of it, ignorance is bliss, right? Like you don't know until you know. But yeah, that also has always been a dream of mine without really realizing it. Actually, right. To be honest, like when I was 18, I remember flipping through a beauty magazine. So it was more of an industry magazine that I was flipping through. And I saw this page that was like, you can have your own makeup line. It was essentially a white label advertisement, like put your name on this packaging. And I was like, but it was more the aha moment of like, oh wait, I can have a makeup line. Like that idea had never, even been in my brain before. And so, cause back then you're just thinking, oh, you have to be an Estee Lauder or a MAC, like how would you ever be able to do that? And so I would always say like, oh, I'm going to have my own makeup line one day, not even knowing what I meant that I was saying. And then I think it was through kind of experience in the industry, getting hired by a lot of bigger brands to go, back to the Lauder lab to help them make lipsticks or doing all these things. And people that were in the industry, like I remember chemists being like, oh, she has an eye for this, or she's really good at this. I had no idea what I was doing. The first time I went into a Lauder lab, I was like, fake it till you make it, baby. Like, let's go.
100%. Did you have like the imposter syndrome? Like, fully
I think I was so just like, I have no idea what's going on. So I'm just going to roll with it. And then once I got the encouragement where they were like, oh yeah, she's really good at color and she knows what she's doing. I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm good at color. So, so a lot of it was learning on the job. But then also just kind of, I love business and I think about, my path and how I can like really give back. And it's through products that I create and also, what they stand for, what they do for other people. Because I think that even from a young age, I grew up Mormon, always grew up going to church. And I remember in my teens, I would mentor all the younger girls in a younger grade below me. And I would do these personal care classes. So I would teach them how to take care of their skin, a little bit of makeup, how to care for their hair. So it's always been in me to kind of give that gift of like educating and teaching, and making, ultimately people feel more confident, which comes through glam,
right.
know?
By the way, it really does. And I think, I would say that your signature, because, I do think, look, as a stylist, as a hairstylist, as a makeup artist, there is definitely like a signature. Like I know when you're doing someone's makeup, I do. And, but I obviously am in the industry, but I think there's like, when Charlotte Tilbury does someone, right? Like, it's going to be bronzy and smoky and glimmery and shimmery and all the things, right?
Yeah.
But I feel like with you, I always know the skin.
Yeah.
Right. I always know the skin, your skin first, right?
Yeah.
You're always skin first. Always an eyebrow, game changer. I love my Nikki eyebrow.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that certain women choose to use you is because what you do is you enhance their natural beauty. You take the natural beauty and you run with that rather than saying, I'm giving you a new face tonight, which, by the way, there's no right or wrong, right? Like, some people go out on a red carpet and they're like, pound my face until I have a cheekbone as high as Cindy Crawford's,
Right.
So, so I want to talk about that because I also think you live what you preach, right? Because that's the first thing when I see you, it's your skin. It's that dewy skin with a pinched cheek and like, and the lip. And the lip is always a deeper shade of like a stain kind of thing.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that.
I think that it's funny because you end up doing your signature without really realizing it's your signature.
Which is why it's your signature.
And how people start to like be like, oh, it's her skin. It's their skin. Like, and I remember, because I just do what I do. And, the clients that have worked with me for the first time, like I remember the first time I worked with Phoebe Waller-Bridge, she took the compact and she's looking at herself and she's like, my skin has never looked like this. Like, this is insane. And I'm just kind of bewildered being like, well, what do you mean? I mean, that's just so.
And Phoebe Denver too, because she's someone that likes no makeup. She wants very minimal makeup. And, she clearly loves what you're doing because you're just bringing out, she's such a natural beauty. And, I think, and I have a lot of respect for that because as someone that loves makeup, as I do.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because like, I guess I know this sounds silly, but what do you do if someone's like, no, like I want a lot of makeup tonight. Will you do it?
Yeah, I'll do
You'll
it.
do it. You'll do it.
Like my version of it still.
Right.
Like, still going to prep the skin with a lot of skincare. Yeah. So even with a lot of makeup over the top, the radiance is coming through the skin. So it still has a little bit of that dimension to it. Like I remember when I was at Venice Film Festival with Sophia Richie, and it was the first time I had ever worked with her. This was probably like 6 years ago. And she was like, oh, I really like a good bake. Like I love to bake. And I was like, yeah, totally. Like love a bake. I had no idea what baking was. I was like, I went to the bathroom. I was like, let me just use the restroom before we start. And I go on my phone on YouTube and I was like, what is baking or how to bake? And I'm like watching a video in the bathroom, like, okay, this is how you bake. And then I go out and I'm just like doing the thing. So like I can adapt. It's not.
And does that mean like pounding? That means like pound the face.
Like they put the layer of powder that kind of sits on the face while you're doing the rest of the makeup, and then you brush it off at the end.
Got it. God, that's so funny. Yeah. I would never know that. Now I know what a bake is.
Yeah. So like I can adapt, but ultimately I'm lucky at this point that I do feel like most people are booking me because
for what you do.
Yeah. Like it's like the difference of I haven't worked with Kim Kardashian, but when you see her full glam, but then you also see her with like the no makeup look, both are stunning.
Yes.
But like I would do the one that's more of the no makeup,
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
So are there any moments that you would want to share or be willing to share of like in your business life and starting your brand, like did you fall before you had success? Because I know, what was so exciting for me, because, I'll always be your biggest cheerleader,
Yes.
Was I've now had a few makeup artists come to do my makeup, and in their kits was Ciele. And they love it. And they started, and they had like Armani and NARS and all the things in their kit. And they were putting Ciele on me. And I was like, oh my God, I need to take a video for Nikki. Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm so excited, And so for me, seeing it in the wild with you not being attached to it, I like feel like a proud mom, I'm sort of like, oh my God, because obviously makeup artists choose from 100 brands that they have, right? So, and they're scent-free things and they're whatever, but to choose what they use is ultimately, that's the win.
It's the biggest compliment I could ever.
Yeah, it is. And so I want to talk about that because the thing that they're saying they love the most is the foundation, is the skin. So I think that's the dream. And so, would you say, because look, I also want to say that you also have, not that you haven't earned them, and not that they don't love you and not that they don't choose you, but you also happen to have the most beautiful muses of all of, Beati, Rosie, Phoebe Denver. I mean, the list goes on. It's like, these are natural beauties, but it's, I always laugh with my team. I'm like, of course, Nikki's doing her face. It's like, she's like a stunning swan. And now Nikki's going to just do her like swan magic.
Totally.
Did you have fails before you had success?
Totally. I've totally had fail. I mean, I had a completely different brand before Ciele. That was a big gut punch.
I've had one. I've had many. I've gut punches.
I think that's what's so interesting is like, you have really kept me on course through all of the years, because like, I could always come to you and be like, okay, this is what's going on. And you're like, yep, done that.
Yep. Wait, you got fucked by your partner? What? What? Someone took advantage of you because you're a woman? What? Like someone thought you were dumb and you're not? Like, wait, what do you mean?
Yeah. So that's always comforting to know, like, you're not on this island alone. And it's a very common thing. And also
terrifying nonetheless.
Sure, it's all vulnerable. It's all terrifying in the moment. Like, I look back at that time when I, lost the first company, and I was like a frail human that was like, you're
like a shell of yourself.
Yeah. The life was gone out of me. And even back then I was like, oh, like, okay, I don't know if I can do this again, but it was kind of my community coming around me. And when I realized like, oh, all of these people are like gunning for me and they believe in me and they want me to succeed and they see something in me, that kind of, I was like, oh, people care, like they want this, And so I think it was that, but also not letting that moment define me. Like I was like, I'm bigger than this and I still have more to give. And I know I can do this. And so I would say from a business side, that was, a really big one. And I still think, even now owning a new company, there's struggles every day. And I think that as an entrepreneur, that's the big learning is like, I expect a problem every day. So it's more about just like how you're managing problems. And if things are good, I'm almost creeped out. Like I'm kind of like, well,
I know. It's hard. It's hard to not get like that. You know, I think it's finding that balance of waking up excited and motivated and also like having the fire extinguisher in your hand, 100%. Right? At all times, ready to go.
Nothing's linear. And that's what I tell my team a lot is I was like, I feel like with this business, like we're in a video game, like we're kind of like Mario trying to get through, dodging the fireballs, like do it, getting to the next level. And so some of it's a blast, some of it's hard, but you just kind of like keep going every single day. And I'm sure there'll be more things that I'll be calling you about being like, great.
When you get a new car or a new home, your first reaction might be to say things like, oh yeah, or I can't believe it, or booyah. But what you really want to say is the one thing that can get you the help you need. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. State Farm is there with the coverage you need for your car, your home, and even boats, motorcycles, RVs, and other things that matter to you. With a State Farm agent, you know someone is there to help you choose the coverage you need. With so many coverage options, it feels good knowing you can find what fits for you. And when you need ways to get help, State Farm gives you options there too. In person or on the phone with your local agent, or on statefarm.com or their award-winning app. State Farm lets you do things your way. So when you need help protecting the things that matter most, remember to say, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Just a few years ago, only 3% of domestic violence shelters accepted pets, meaning many abuse survivors had to choose between staying in a difficult situation for their pet or leaving their pet behind. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men experience domestic abuse in their lifetime, and nearly half of survivors delay leaving because they can't bring their pets with them. Purina believes in the healing power of pets, particularly for survivors of abuse. They believe pets and people are better together, which is one of the many reasons they started the Purple Leash Project. Through the Purple Leash Project, Purina is helping break down one of the many barriers abuse survivors face: the lack of pet-friendly domestic violence shelters. Purina has helped increase the amount of pet-friendly shelters across the country from 3% to nearly 20% through the Purple Leash Project. With more pet-friendly domestic violence shelters, survivors and their pets can escape and heal together. Visit purina.com/purple to get involved.
This is Radhi Devlukia from A Really Good Cry. When you take a shower, where does your shower take you? If you're like me, your shower is your escape from pretty much everything. The Kohler Anthem Plus Smart Showering System lets you make that refuge exactly what you need it to be. It lets you fine-tune water, steam, light, and sound all from a single control. You can dial in your temperature settings to the degree, so it's just how you like it. And you can stream music from your own playlist and program the lighting to create the right mood. And with pre-programmed steam therapies with infused aromatherapy oils, it's really getting into spa territory. With Anthem Plus, you're not just imagining your sanctuary, you are creating it. And you can save up to 9 of your customized favorites. The system even pairs with Kohler Connect app, so you can start your shower remotely before you're even in the bathroom. Honestly, I'm relaxed just thinking about it. Personalize your escape with Anthem Plus Smart Showering, only from Kohler.
Even if you think it's a bit overhyped, AI is suddenly everywhere, from self-driving cars to molecular medicine to business efficiency. If it's not in your industry yet, it is coming fast. But AI needs a lot of speed and computing power. So how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? Time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a blazing fast and secure platform for your infrastructure, database, and application development, plus all your AI and machine learning workloads. OCI costs 50% less for compute and 80% less for networking, so you're saving a pile of money. Thousands of businesses have already upgraded to OCI, including MGM Resorts, Specialized Bikes, and Fireworks AI. Right now, Oracle is offering to cut your current cloud bill in half if you move to OCI for new U.S. customers with minimum financial commitment. Offer ends December 31st, 2024. See if your company qualifies for this special offer at oracle.com/strategic. That's oracle.com/strategic.
This is what you do when you have high standards and fancy all the fancy things, like an iconic Dior saddle bag or that diamond tennis bracelet. You go to eBay. There you'll find new loves that will never disappoint, expertly authenticated and everything. Whether it's that vintage pearl necklace or brand new ruby earrings, a Prada crossbody bag to be besties with your other handbags, even an eternally classic watch like that Rolex Oyster or that Cartier Tank. You know the one. And when you find it, eBay has their experts' eyes to make sure you're getting the real deal. That way you can be confident that the designer finds you came for, the luxury wardrobe you've always wanted, it's all real. In fact, it's verified authentic. So bring your high standards and never limit what you can find. Yeah, eBay, the place for new, pre-loved, vintage, and rare fashion. eBay, things people love. Listen, you're in a very exciting time in your life, and I think, I think having the nerve, the guts, the ambition to go through losing a brand, or just having bad partners but I think the reality of it is no one's immune to it. We've seen more of our friends than not go through it. And, sometimes the money runs out. Sometimes, you get screwed over by your partner. Sometimes the person you trusted most becomes the person that is leading the charge of screwing you over. And I think if you take away those things, it's like listen, Bobby Brown got on stage 2 summers ago at this venture summit, female venture summit. And she said to me, everyone's like, oh my God, you're Bobby Brown. I can't believe you've launched not just your own line, but now you're doing Jones Road to such huge success. And she goes, are you okay? She's like, I had like 3 failed before Jones Road. You just don't know about them because they failed. And she's like, but I learned from those to get to Jones Road. Right. Yeah. But, I think I think if there's any takeaway from having so many incredibly successful women on Climbing in Heels, the takeaway is that you don't stop. You don't stop, right? Because you cry, we get scared, you feel alone, you feel, the feelings are just next level, right? Like of wanting to crawl up, but you can't. Yeah. Right. And you can't. And so, I think it's the takeaways from the failures that help you get to, and some people say, don't call them failures. I do, just because to me, it just feels like, okay, yeah, that was an epic fail. And so you could also say like, okay, that was an insane learning lesson, and it's both. Right. And that's okay.
Yeah. I think it's definitely both. But the cool thing about it is that in doing it a second time, a lot of the things that were really hard the first time are now muscle memory for the second time. Yeah. And I'm sure that being a mom, it's like, of course. Like, oh yeah, I've done this before. Like I can figure this out so much faster. So I think that's amazing. But there's always going to be things, because even when you're doing product launches, knock wood, but not everything's going to be like a slam dunk, and there's always going to be something. And so I also think it's data. All of it is data. Highs, lows. It's just like, it's feeding you information so that you can navigate through the journey into what's next, And so,
and by the way, what is next for you? Because I know what's next, but what's next, and what are you most excited about, and what are your greatest sort of fears, or what you're most excited about right now?
What's next is that I'm going to be a mother next year.
Yes, you are going.
My next product launch is a baby. No, I actually have 2 product launches before the baby comes, but I'm having a baby boy in April, and so
nice little Aries boy coming in hot.
Aries like his mama, and
like his mentor Sky.
Exactly. So that will be interesting, but I'm ready. I'm ready, but I'm not. My mom is going crazy because she's like sending me car seats and cribs and all other things. And I'm like, Mom, we're going to deal with that next year. She's like, what do you mean? And I was like, we got stuff to do before I got to figure out what car seat is going to be in. And Amazon 2-day delivery, we'll be fine. So that's going to be a cool level up for me, but it's kind of cool too, because I think I have so many friends, obviously. I mean, you were also a huge mentor in that. I remember when I was in no relationship, no partner, and I was kind of in my cool girl phase of like, yeah, I don't know if I want to have kids.
I was just going to call you out on that.
Yeah, whatever. I'm so good, and I'm just this entrepreneur girl. And you were like, if you can, freeze your eggs. You're like, even if you don't know you want to have kids, just please do that. And I really took that to heart. I mean, luckily this pregnancy is natural, but the feeling of having those and knowing that I'm 40, and if I want to keep growing the family, that, I could.
You have the option. The option.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish someone told that to me, but if I did, I'd have 6 kids right now. So
exactly.
So maybe we're good. Maybe we're good.
Maybe Kurt wants 4. I don't know if that's 4.
Listen, girl, do it.
we'll see.
Let's have one and then decide. But
that's exactly, I just tell him that. I'm like, let's get through one and then we'll figure it out. But
yeah, your Jewish mom will nudge you into the second for sure. But I mean, after that, that's all you, because then I can't take responsibility for the insanity that ensues.
Yeah.
But
I think even with that, so I have mentors. I saw Jasmine, who's the owner of Cult Gaia, the other day.
Yeah.
And we
just had another one, right?
Yes, but we were at this baby event. We were at Sophia Richie did this new clothing line
thing, right? Yeah.
We were there and I was talking to her and it's like, you know, I'm 5.5 months holding my little belly and she shows up and I'm like, oh, when are you due? And she's like, next Thursday. And I was like, what is going on? I was like, what are you doing here? And she's like, it's her third.
Her third.
And I was like, well, what are you doing here? She's like, what do you mean? I'm just like, I'm like hanging out. And I was like, that is a queen right there. I was like, okay. And then, and I was talking to her about it and I was like, I'm really nervous. Like, how do you do it? Like, she's like, Nikki, it's going to be your superpower, you know, like, because you just get in this rhythm and you have like your mom stuff going on, your business stuff going on. And she's like, think about it when you have a day off and you don't do anything, how tired you are because you're not doing anything. And she's like, so the busyness, you'll get in a groove. And I was like, okay, that inspires me to not have a fear around how to manage all of it.
You're going to do it with such grace and stride. And you're just going to figure it out as you go. Cause that's what we do. There's no rule book. Right. Don't read the books, just do it and follow your gut. And you're going to do everything the way you want on your terms. And, you know, my greatest advice for new moms is just don't listen to anybody. Listen, if you ask for the advice, right, people will give it, but there are going to be more often than not people that give you advice that you don't ask for it. And you can't take that because all those things start to become this jigsaw puzzle in your head. Wait, do I sleep train? Wait, do I not? Do I bed sleep? Do I not? Do I bassinet? Do I not? Do I feed them this? Do I give them nuts? Do I you know, and you're just going to follow your gut with your child. And that's it. That's the right answer.
Yeah.
And you know, when you need help, you have a group of 1,000 amazing moms around you that can help. Yeah. But until then, you follow you do you, and it will work best. And, you know, I think the working thing, it's all hard, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's all hard, but I actually think that the juggle of motherhood and working makes you better and more efficient with your life and your time. Mm-hmm. You know, I really do. And it's not even on purpose. It's just what happens, you know? And I don't think you realize that there was a lot of time you were kind of wasting and now you don't waste any time. There's like everything counts.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's also okay to have a down day where you need to not be a mom and not work. That's okay too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
it's been really interesting because I've always grown up around kids and babies and I'm really
such a kid person.
Yeah. I'm super comfortable around it, but it just never, it was just, I have always been so focused on business that it just was kind of like I didn't even think about it. And even now being pregnant, I feel like I'm walking into this new club that
you are.
I'm like, oh, so okay, cool. Like now I'm one of them, you know, like it's pretty wild, but
but it's the best freaking club you'll ever be a part of. I have to tell you, because I've been part of a lot of clubs in my career and in my life. And I have to say the Working Mom Club is a club that is so unique and special because you end up surrounding yourself with a bunch of badass, smart women that are all kind of on your trajectory in their own way. No one's is the same. But it's so nice to connect. It's so nice to have that community, and you're going to just enjoy the ride and keep doing you and keep being Nikki. And, you know, maybe that Nikki looks a little different, you know, because for me, I think that was my biggest challenge was after I had Sky was like, who the hell am I?
Yeah.
How do I now holding this little angel that I love more? My heart was like exploding in a way I didn't know it was possible. And I didn't really want to put him down. And so I think for me, and everyone's different, it was sort of, how do I go at being me now? For me, that was a challenge. And it took me a beat, honestly.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying, give yourself the grace.
Yeah.
You know?
100%. And I think that throughout my whole, career and personal life, I think one of my superpowers is an openness to things. Yeah. And so like, I'm comfortable kind of not knowing and kind of just working through it as we go. So I just kind of keep on that path of, even my team, they're like, oh, well, when you're on mat leave. And I'm like, I don't know about, I don't know. That sounds, I don't know. I was like, I'll probably be on calls with him on my boob and that's fine.
Yeah. And that's fine.
But we'll see, I don't really know how I'm going to feel until I'm in it, and then I'll figure it out, So I could be ignorantly talking about that, but that's kind of how I do a lot of life, is just like, no,
wing it.
Let's see.
I believe in winging it, babe. I believe in winging it. Just do you.
Everything's been a wing it.
By the way, one of the greatest lessons I like to share on Climbing in Heels is how many amazingly successful women just wing it. You kind of have to. We can't control everything, and we like to, right? Yeah. And it's weird because I'm a total control freak in so many ways, but I also really like to wing it because I think that when you plan too much, you set yourself up for disappointment 100%. and feeling like you didn't hit that goal, right? Like, I don't know.
And what's the biggest, and I think I always think that way too. Like, what is the worst case scenario of this, like winging it, right? Like, it's usually not, it's not that bad, like it's definitely something that you can get through. I mean, there's been some funny wing it's like, I've had 2 marriages before this one, and those were funny ones in my 20s, totally winged it. The second one only lasting for 3 months, but
it was a blip. It was they're blips. People have blips.
But even with that, it was funny because I remember going to my parents to tell them, oh, I'm getting divorced again. And they were like, we're so proud of you. And I was like, that's not the response I expected from my Mormon parents. And
I was going to say, from Mormon parents in Utah, I mean, you don't really expect that answer, right? So good for them.
And they were like, it's really scary to be brave and do something that, most people wouldn't do. Most people would just stay in it. And we are so proud of you for being so brave. And I was like, okay. And, but that kind of like was a huge lesson for me of like, the hardest thing, how hard is the fall? Like, that was tough. And I had to go through a lot of hardship even back then, and business and friendships and all of those different things. But like, what's the worst case scenario? And by the way, people forget about it. Like, they could talk about it for, a couple weeks, and then it's on to the next thing. So I think that's always the other thing to remember is like, we always think everyone is like,
I know. Well, because we're in it.
Yeah. Like no one, like they're dealing with their own shit, so, just keep winging it. And
everyone's got shit. Everyone's got shit. That's the reality. Everyone's got shit, and everyone has wins, and everyone has fails, and it's how much they talk about them, how much they own them. And I've just always had the most respect for you for always keeping it real, always keeping it. You've always remained very humble and open about how you go at anything. And to me, I tell everyone I know, the thing I respect the most about people is owning something, right? Just owning it, just own who you are. And I think for you, you've always been very clear about, where you are, right? Where you are. And I think with being honest with others, it helps to be honest with yourself about things. 100%. And so I just love watching you win. My team and I have known you from day one, or our day one, your LA day one. Feels like probably there was day ones before that we didn't know you, but for us, for a long time. I personally just love watching you win. And I'm so excited to see the next chapter. I'm so excited to see you be like hot mom, entrepreneur, all the things, just, with your dewy skin and your lip stain and the cheek stain and the eyebrow and the whole thing. Cause I know you're going to do that even as a new mom.
I know.
You'll have your 5 minute, you'll do get ready with me as a new mom.
No, seriously, because at the end of the day, like a little bit of makeup makes you feel so much better. Like you just feel like, oh, like catch yourself in the mirror, you see a little glow on your face and you're like, I'm good, you know?
I am so here for that. You're talking to a girl that did a cat eye in COVID, locked in a room by myself with not
Yeah.
another soul in there, and had lashes and a cat eye. Like,
Yes. Do you guys want to know the funniest thing about Rachel and I? So my whole brand has added levels of SPF. All of my products have SPF in them, SPF 50. So like this that we've been talking about, my tinted serum, this is SPF 50 makeup, right? And I'm crazy about it. How's your sunscreen program, Rachel? How's it going over there?
Nikki comes at me with like, she'll put her sunscreen on. She'll go, I'm just going to dab a little. And I'm like, wait, what?
Or
withdrew.
Or I would come over to her house to do her glam, and you're like in your robe. You're like, yeah, I've just been outside in the sun all day, like just getting a little bit of color. And I'm like, we can fake this with makeup. You don't need to be doing that, Rachel. Like, but somehow still has managed not to have sunspots, not to have wrinkle. Like, I don't know what's happening over there, but
girl, I feel like I have all the things. I feel like I have all the things.
It's our biggest fight, you and I.
It is. And I need more Ciele, by the way, because I've been using it and I probably didn't even realize it had 50 in it. God, you shouldn't have told me. No,
that was the inspiration behind the brand, is how I could trick Rachel into wearing not knowing it. By the way, I have bronzing concentrate that you can put everywhere to make you look so tan, but not make your skin get any UVA, UVB rays. Come on.
Well, you are the queen. I love you so much. And, you know, if anyone is lucky enough to have Nikki touch their face in their lifetime, but she does teach a lot. And if you can't have Nikki in person, you can have her on her social, because she's so active on her Instagram, which is
at Nikki DeRoest. And you can also find me on Ciele Cosmetics. And we're doing a lot more next year in Sephora as well. So our brand is retailed in Sephora nationwide. But I know in March we're doing a digital event. So if you want to learn firsthand from me, we'll be doing some classes that way too. So anyone can tune in. And then hopefully in the fall, we'll have more stuff happening on tour, baby in tow.
I love it so much. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
All right. I love you so much. I'm going to let you go back to your life. And this was the most fun, and I'm so excited. Thank you so much to my sweet, beautiful Nikki for coming on the pod today. I love and adore her so very much. I also loved hearing that her creating amazing products is her way to give back to an industry that she loves so much and owes so much to. And, you know, as I spoke on the pod about, one of my favorite things about Nikki is she is as real as they come, and she owns her triumphs, her falls, her fears, her real she has a real humility about her success and how she has become Nikki. And, you know, she's still exactly the same as the day I met her. And just truly the loveliest, realest, and just such a girl's girl, I have to say also, first and foremost. So thank you so much for listening to Climbing in Heels. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the iHeart app, or wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss a single episode this season. And be sure to follow me on Instagram at Rachel Zoe, and the show on @Climbing in Heels Pod for the latest episodes and updates. I will talk to you soon. Mwah. As a Delta Sky Miles member, you already know how to experience the world like no one else. Now, with Sky Miles Experiences, you have special access to a collection of unforgettable events, from concert backstage passes and courtside seats for your favorite team to one-of-a-kind dining, wellness retreats, and more, all available by using your miles. Now is your moment to unlock more once-in-a-lifetimes and find an experience for you on delta.com/SkyMiles experiences. Not a SkyMiles member? It's free and easy to sign up and start earning miles today. Terms apply.
This is Dr. Laurie Santos from the Happiness Lab. Many people have questions about how to improve levels of happiness. Living a healthy lifestyle is one sure way of increasing happiness. And a good place to start is with your oral health. Just a few small changes to your oral care routine, such as changing your toothpaste to Colgate Total, can lead to beneficial changes in your oral health. Colgate Total helps stop oral health problems like gingivitis and cavities before they start, because preventing oral health problems is a lot easier than treating them. Be dentist ready and get Colgate Total at shop.colgate.com/total.
The holidays are here, and so is the IKEA winter sale. Now's your chance to make the holidays a little more magical and less expensive. Save up to 50% off on select items in-store and online now through January 7th. Plus, IKEA loyalty members get an extra 10% off on sale items. Offer valid in the U.S. through 1/7 while supplies last. Selection may vary by store and online. See store and IKEA-USA.com/winter sale for complete terms. Restrictions apply.
Looking for the perfect holiday gift? Here's an idea. Skip the coffee mugs and scented candles and give the gift of beach with a cheap Caribbean gift card. Everyone loves going on vacation, and a cheap Caribbean gift card is the perfect way to remind your loved ones to treat themselves to some much-needed beach bliss this holiday season. To purchase your cheap Caribbean gift card, go to booking.cheapcaribbean.com/gift-cards. That's booking.cheapcaribbean.com/gift-cards.
Have you ever brought your magic to Walt Disney World like, hey, we came to play? Did you tip your tiara to a Creole princess or get goofy officially? Step up like a boss and save the day? Or see what life's like under the tree of life? Did you? If you could. Would you? When we come through, it's true magic. 'Cause we came to play. Bring the magic at Walt Disney World Resort.